When the waves rise and the current turns against you, most people drift, but not you. You stay anchored, steady, unmoved, because you understand the storm doesn't decide your direction, you do. The wind can howl, the tide can pull, but your foundation runs deeper than the ocean itself. So while others are tossed and shaken, you stand firm, steadfast in the chaos, steadfast in the storm.
So why does Stedfast exist?
It's our testimony. It grew from having another brand called Worthy Apparel that we just didn't feel God was aligned in anymore. We didn't feel aligned with it anymore. Through that process, though, we realized that people gravitated towards the hats that we created when we had that brand. And we knew that we still wanted to do something creative. We wanted to do hats. We just didn't know what the brand name was going to be. We didn't know what this was going to look like. We didn't know literally anything. So we prayed about it, and Joe called me one night, and she kind of just shared what God put on her heart. I'm going to let her share that with you, but that's kind of the beginning of this whole journey. If you want to go ahead.
I called him and I was like, what do you think about Stedfast? It holds a significant meaning, just remaining steadfast through faith, through the highs and lows of life. It's in the Bible over 250 times, and it's just a powerful reminder to just be wrapped up in the Lord's love and just know that He's going to get you through anything that you're going through. And so I asked Nolan, I was like, what do you think about that? And yeah, I mean, pretty simple.
Yeah, I remember the call. And at first I wasn't really sure what to think about it. But I sat on it and I prayed about it. I kind of did some digging into Steadfast and what it meant, and really understanding the meaning of the word. And I came home and we had this conversation about, like, this is great. I love this direction, but how do we make this spark a conversation? Without just, like, we didn't want it just to be steadfast, like regularly spelled, it's just going to go by everybody. So we decided to take the A out, without realizing in the moment that this is actually the traditional archaic way of spelling the word. But we've had so many people walk up to us and ask, like, why do you guys spell it that way? Did you, do it on purpose? Was there any, like, intentionality behind it? And our response to them is always, like, the exact reasoning why you're asking is why we spelt it this way. It sparks a conversation. And that's kind of where the brand name came from. And, we started this thing not wanting to be a brand, but more being a movement and building a community of people who want to live a steadfast life. For us, this whole journey kind of started in 2018 with the birth of our daughter. She was born at preemie. She was 33 weeks and 3 pounds 11 ounces. Joe had preeclampsia, which is pretty common in first-time pregnancies. The only cure for that is delivery, whether it be through C-section or natural. Obviously, with a preemie, C-section. And I'll never forget the day that Joe was admitted to the hospital. It was January 25th, 2018, and we went into labor and delivery room where it was a shared room. So there's a curtain that separated the room. There's another girl in there. They had the curtain drawn closed. And you could hear the questions that they're asking. And some of them are like, do you drink? Do you smoke? Do you whatever else they were? But I remember this girl was answering yes to, like, almost every single one of these questions. And Joe and I immediately were questioning God of, like, what is happening? We have done everything by the book. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't the story. This isn't what you read about. This isn't in the movies. This isn't the birth story. The birth story is supposed to be everything works perfectly. You're your daughter or son's born, everything's great. You take them home and you go be parents. That's the story that we're all told and we see, but ours took this drastic kind of dark turn, and it broke us completely. And the one thing that we held on to was our faith. So our daughter was born and rushed into the NICU. She was in there for 21 days. Rushed into an incubator, heart monitor, feeding tube, anything that you could think of that could go on a baby when they're first born is what our daughter had. And I remember when Joe was recovering, they moved us up to the mother baby unit, which was a really weird feeling to be in a mother baby unit without your baby, having your baby be below you in the NICU. It was weird. And I remember the nurse tending to Joe realized that she was starting to get a temperature, and her blood pressure started going up. And so they did some blood tests, and Joe at this point is just hopped up on magnesium and anything else, and just trying to keep the pain down and things to that. Magnesium was also to regulate her heart rate. But the results came back, and they found out that her liver enzymes were up to around, I think like 300, and her platelets were down to about 21,000. So what happens with that, I'm no doctor, but this is what I understand, is your liver produces enzymes, and those enzymes produce platelets. Your liver should be producing about 8 to 10 enzymes, and those enzymes should be producing about 100 to 400,000 platelets. Her enzymes are about 300 to 400, and her platelets were down to 21,000. So her liver just kept producing these enzymes that weren't producing the platelets. So they rushed us back down to labor delivery. And I remember going into the room, and they're wrapping her bed up with blankets and towels. And the doctor pulled me aside. Sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional, but the doctor pulled me aside and said, like, look, your wife is one seizure away of dying. We are protecting her bed with these blankets and towels in case she does have a seizure and hit her head. She's in critical condition. She is diagnosed with HELP syndrome, which is a very rare elevated version of preeclampsia. It happens about 4 to 12% of women who get preeclampsia. And the only solution that they had for us was to give Joe a platelet transfusion of dead platelets. And that was hopefully going to trick her body into making it think it's producing platelets. It had about an 80 to 90% success rate. And I signed the paper, and I'm like, yeah, do it. Like, anything to save her from whatever's going on, do it. And, they ordered it. The doctor at the same time pulled me aside and said, look, I'm going to be really honest with you. You have 4 scenarios that are going to happen. 1, you're going to leave with nobody. It's just going to be you leaving this hospital. 2, you will leave with your wife and no daughter, so the same way you came in. 3, you will leave with your daughter and without your wife. Or obviously 4, you're going to leave as a family. Needless to say, the platelet transfusion worked. Joe is here, living, breathing. Our daughter's now 8 years old. You would never guess that she was a preemie. She's 8 going on 25. And 6 months after all that happened, we decided to change our story even more and move from California to Waco, Texas, which is where we reside now. And we took a huge leap of faith. We had no jobs lined up. We had no friends. The only person we knew was my mom, who offered us to stay with her.
No church.
No church, no community. Yeah, we literally had nothing. And we took a huge leap of faith and moved out here. And it was a huge blessing. And it took us starting Stedfast to realize that we've been living this steadfast life ever since the birth of our daughter. Yeah, we didn't realize it until we started it, that this is a lifestyle. This is not meant to be just a brand. This is meant to be a movement. This is meant to be a community of people.
I think it's just a reminder too. Everybody goes through their ups and downs in life.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a reminder to just stay positive and not to give up and to keep pressing forward and realizing that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And wearing our hats isn't just about wearing them, but I think it's more so a mentality and living a life full of faith and realizing that our number one comfort and our number one provider is the Lord, and that He's going to get you through anything that you're going through. And every hat tells a story. So
Every person who puts a hat on tells a story. Everybody has their own story. You know, we tell people all the time that this doesn't have to be religious. It is for us because that's our testimony. It is in our story. My favorite thing to tell people about kind of what Steadfast is the analogy of surfing, or the metaphor of surfing, I guess it is. When you're surfing, you go out in the water and you sit. I mean, you could sit there for minutes, you could sit there for hours, and it could be completely flat. But you're remaining steadfast in that moment that the perfect swell is going to come through, that the perfect wave will come through. It could be waiting on a test result from the doctor. It could be waiting on a test result from school. It could be a job interview. You're always waiting in that moment and remaining faithful in that moment that the result's going to be positive, that you will get that job, that the test result is a passing, that the test result from the doctor is something negative that you don't want to be happening. But I mean, it stems from any everyday life. You could remain steadfast in literally everything that you do. And that's what we're trying to do here. That's the movement that we're trying to portray. That's the community that we're trying to build. Like Joe said, like when you wear this, wear it as a badge of honor. This isn't just a brand. It's not a cool name on a hat or a cool name on a shirt. This is you choosing to step out into a steadfast life. You are choosing that lifestyle. And I think we both agree that it's really important for people to live that lifestyle. And it's, you know, we keep telling people it doesn't have to be religious. Like, faith isn't religious. Faith is a feeling that you have. It's something that you hold on to. It's that hope that you're gonna make it through. Like, our whole motto is ride life's waves. You know, you ride those highs and those lows, and regardless of what it is you're going through, you're gonna be fine. Yeah.
oh, yeah.
I don't have anything else. That's the story.
Hi, that's it.
That's why we exist. That's it. Yeah.
Pretty simple.